Hello, it's Scott with Zenvi AI. Welcome to the Systems Are Sexy podcast. Today I'm joined by Peter Katz. He is the founder of Trybe Properties. Peter's built and scaled multiple property management businesses, all while leveraging technology and AI to run lean, efficient operations. So we're going to dive into his journey, lessons learned, and how he's using tech to transform real estate management. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thanks, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, of course. Let's maybe kind of start from the beginning for you. I know based on your background, maybe your journey from hospitality management to real estate and property management. What was that like for you? What drew you to property management specifically?
Uh, it was opportunistic. I came out of undergraduate with a focus in hospitality management and lived in awesome places around the world, Northern California, Mexico, right, Colorado. And after a few years, I really wanted to be going on vacations to those places and recognized I was on the wrong side of the desk and had an opportunity to go back and learn back to Kansas City to learn development from my father, who's building some apartments, had some projects in the pipeline, and was overburdened and understaffed. So I went back and worked with him, learned the development business, also learned property management from, leasing to asset management, filled in roles throughout that process. I was not a very good apartment leaser, but I quickly decided that property management wasn't going to be my game. I said, I don't ever want to be in property management, but then went to grad school at EU for real estate construction management. It came out in 2008. Perfect timing for a crash, real estate market crash. And the opportunities were not great. So I kind of fell into facilities management. And by doing so, I worked with a Canadian engineer who was very systems oriented. And I came from kind of a chaotic background with hospitality. The few of the businesses I worked with in hospitality were pretty chaotic. And then working with my father, I wouldn't say chaotic, but just not systemized and learning from this engineer how beneficial systems are to operations really hit home. And when I went out on my own to start a property management company, because of lack of development opportunities, also lack of capital, I was running it on my own. So using technology to be able to run it from my phone, from the road, from a chairlift was really key. And I fell into a property management software called Appfolio, who was just constantly pushing the envelope of technology and now into AI, but really systemized, mobile friendly software to run my business. And, property management's not a high margin business. So being able to run lean is key, at least for me. And having systems and software and technology in place really allows me to run a lean business the way I'd like to. Add it. Typically, managers will just add heads, add seats just to take on more properties and been able to keep that to a minimum by using the technology available.
It's great. One of the goals of this podcast is to share lessons that people have learned, and I'm curious because you have ultimately had multiple iterations of your business. What lessons have you learned over the years?
Well, having documented procedures, standard operating procedures is really important. It's a challenge to do on your own as a sole proprietor. It takes a lot of time and effort, but the setup at the beginning is, pays dividends throughout the operations of the business. So being able to identify what are the recurring tasks that your business has and systemizing them so that you can outsource them, overseas or have AI do it is really key. If you just have a jumble of tasks that you do every day, first of all, things fall through the cracks. And second of all, it's really not easy to scale. It's really involves being in the weeds. I can't say that I'm an expert, but I certainly recognize the benefits that it's paid in the areas where we have focused, built out the SOPs and have systems and processes that are documented and repeatable.
Got it. So how do you guys differentiate yourself? Because I feel like that's always an important part of business where some industries can feel like a commodity. How do you differentiate yourself from other property management companies out there?
Well, by using our software, we have really clean reporting, and our accounting is clean. Every account gets reconciled every month. The reports are shared with the owners in a timely fashion so that they get a clear picture of their property operations, identifying where we missed on budget and why. And then being available, always picking up the phone when an owner calls. That's key. And that goes back to having those operating procedures in place so that you have people doing the busy work where ownership or reps of the company can directly chat with an owner as needed. And they always call in the most inopportune times. By having systems in place, the boat doesn't stop rowing, and we can take the time to answer questions and really give a personalized approach.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are doing a good job with that. I'm curious if there's any other part of your business, whether it's a process or automations, you wish you could have in place and make you more efficient. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, well, we are actually implementing in a few areas, both leasing and maintenance, where AI and the software that we're using will respond, be the first, basically the first stop for a tenant request or a prospective tenant's questions. They'll reach out and immediately they'll get a response. It's AI. Again, it's not quite a human touch, but at least it grabs them, doesn't let them linger and move on to the next. They'll immediately get a follow up text or a call. It'll be AI. Can I answer your questions? They can answer basic questions. If they don't get their questions answered, then it moves on to a live rep employee. That is really key for us because I do recognize in Denver, it's really hard to lease apartments right now. There's a glut of new builds and they're giving away, free months, free TVs, key passes and everything. And, if someone doesn't get a quick response, they'll quickly move on to the next one to find a better deal. So, right now we're piloting, our leasing, assistant through Appfolio, which is largely AI, dialing in that process. Again, it's not perfect. And I'm sure and you could probably speak to the iterative learning process for AI. But, there's going to be more human touch at the beginning while we work out kinks, and then hopefully it runs smoothly. And for maintenance, similar things, you get repetitive types of failures and breaks and issues in property management. So AI will answer a call or take a text message and triage the issue so that we're not spending our time on the phone. We can actually go out and deal with existing issues. We can triage. Oh, there's a toilet running. Do you have the AI will ask, is there another toilet in the house that you can use? If so, turn off the valve. This is where you find it. This is what it looks like. So you can get the basic maintenance done without sending someone to the property, costing property owner, additional expense with time, and help the tenant solve the problem quickly and possibly permanently. So that does help, lower expenses for the property, reduce time for our staff, and, it really does create an impact on the tenant because they're getting quicker responses. That's the biggest complaint for us is without that, people will reach out and say, hey, I've called about this maintenance issue. It's not an emergency, but no one's called me back. Those are things that I hear and have to solve for. So really leaning into this tech stack that's provided by Appfolio and some of their vendor partners that do provide AI and other automated services is really been key for us. And I'm just leaning more into it.
Okay. I was curious about lead generation and marketing, whether it's for tenants or property owners. How do you guys approach that?
Well, it's now becoming more and more important, especially in Denver. We've added a lot of SEO, social media posting. So we have not a full time, a part time consultant that constantly updates our social marketing, social media posts, just regular posts, and then posts on vacancies and new properties and acquisitions, and just keeps in front of anyone that may be following or maybe into the market. We've also started exploring geofenced advertising, where if someone's within a couple mile radius of a specific project, when they're on their social media, specific ads for our project in that area pop up. Hey, are you looking for an apartment? Here's a newly renovated apartment on a great area, shopping close by. And it, pinging all the phones that are either searching the internet or on social media with these targeted ads. So that is becoming more and more um, prevalent in the market, but new for us. We have a new property that's largely vacant that we're renovating and really needed to lease up fast. So we're putting money towards that. Haven't had it in place long enough to really understand the returns and the cost per lead, but it's starting to take off.
For those that aren't familiar with Tribe, could you kind of give us your business model, portfolio approach, what works for you guys, what you're looking for?
Yeah. We really started with a wide net and would accept any management assignments. So we have everything from trailer parks to Class A medical office, lots of industrial, a fraternity house, which was our first client in 2013. But we've really honed in on some of the assets that we like to buy as outside of the management. Industrial properties have been really a big part of our growth in the past 3 to 5 years. But we do multifamily, industrial, and retail, and those those are typically those are the major asset classes. We do have office. That is not our ideal assignment. We are good at it. We do well at it. We just don't want to add a bunch. For us, adding a lot of office is it's more individual leases and tenant touch and reconciliations. And, with the office market the way it is, there's a lot of vacancies. So it's a more heavy lift these days. And really, we like to focus on the industrial, which is it's fewer tenants, simpler buildings, simpler systems, and we do a really good job with it. Our maintenance guys in the field, they're not just out doing repairs, they're doing property assessment for the owners, regular reporting of property condition, issues to focus on when we're budgeting for CapEx for the following year. Yeah, so industrial really is our focus these days, but we have been acquiring new clients and properties in the multifamily sector.
Let's say 3 years from now, on the path that you're on right now, industrial, do you feel like that's where you want to be? Or have you thought about, hey, I want to focus on one lane, or I'm okay with whatever opportunity presents itself?
I'm really okay with whatever opportunity presents itself because we are, real estate's cyclical, but each asset class and type in real estate is cyclical as well. And they're not on the same cycles typically. Industrial has been booming and then people build and then there's overbuilding and then, you have more vacancy because there's more options. Same with multifamily. Right now, multifamily is seeing the biggest crush because of that. But we take on anything, really, if you break it down, property management is onboarding, maintenance, lease administration, and accounting and reporting. Accounting and reporting are kind of one beast. And that's repeatable. And every asset class has pretty much that same structure. And if you have knowledge or people with knowledge of those types of assets, then you can tweak your approach to each one of those by portfolio. So really for us as a management company, I don't feel the need to focus on one asset class. Many managers do. I think with our knowledge and the team that I have, we really have experts in each area and can perform really well for any ownership of any asset class. And 3 years from now, what I really would like to see is less dispersed management. When I mean by that is properties with on-site managers, high rises, multifamily properties that have a staff on site so that we can focus on improving the operations and let the day-to-day get run by the on-site staff. That's what we're focused on with our growth and our scaling. And we are in the process of revamping our systems to be even more documented and system process and procedure focused, implementing the EOS methodology and really looking at siloing our managers so that they're not straddling asset classes. This is my focus. And, that kind of cleans up our operations a little bit more and helps us provide better service for our clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know you mentioned AI earlier. Have you thought about specific areas where you feel like it can improve efficiency, whether it's tenant communication, marketing, investor reporting, or maybe what you're not doing right now, but you've thought about?
My first foray into AI was trying to offload some of the monthly reporting by having AI scrub our financials and pull out data and put it into a presentation. What I found is that there are so many nuances to each property, tenant relationships, maintenance issues that AI really doesn't have the ability to scrub. So what we can do is get a recurring framework for these reports. And we still have to have that personal touch for the property manager to come in and put a little color to that report. So that's been helpful for me. Now my focus is really our phone system, and that sounds kind of blah, but being able to answer the phone quickly, get responses to both owners and tenants and vendors is key. Our phone doesn't stop ringing. I mean, as a property manager, it's almost 24/7, and it's really tough to get things done when your phone's always ringing and you're taking calls. So for me, my next focus is going to be using AI for phones. I know that that's improving. The answering the voice technology of AI is improving. It's less robotic. And so for me I think we'll have a lot of success if we can implement the right phone strategy with AI. I'm still learning. I keep meeting, I've met with a few providers, and some of them are just working it out. Some of them have a pretty well dialed system, where that their system will also do diagnosis of maintenance issues and triage and help the tenant figure things out, then submit work orders into our system if they can't triage or can't fix the issue with the tenant on the phone. So again, it's assessing all these potential providers. That's another big part of the job.
Yeah, we've rolled that out for some clients, and I feel like what it was 6 months ago is much different than it is now, and 6 months from now, it's going to be even better.
Yeah, I'd be curious to learn more about what you've done and implemented, because there's just so many out there, and some are just trying to figure it out, and some haven't figured it out. So yeah, I'd love to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously one of the goals too is to share advice, and I'm curious, what advice, maybe someone's new to property management, what advice would you give them to grow efficiently?
Back to what we started with is identify your recurring tasks and systemize and document. Being personable is obviously a key part of growing any business, but knowledge of operations and knowledge of buildings, for me, I think one of the most beneficial pieces of knowledge or expertise that I have is construction and building systems. Being in ground up development, ongoing maintenance, and as a facilities manager, I learned everything about building. So being able to go out and talk to vendors intelligently is really important. It provides a ton of value for these assets. And being in Denver, we have a lot of old buildings, a lot of old retail strip centers, and they have unique systems and issues. And being able to recognize something that you've seen before, that's key. Again, just getting your hands dirty, learning as much as you can, but being an expert in at least one one aspect of properties, real estate is really going to be key. You can always fill in the others, and then lean on consultants. Go ahead and pay a little bit more than you want for good employees. That's taken me a long time to learn. Not underpaid, but I've hired lower level employees thinking that I can guide them and grow them, which I can. But again, that takes time and that takes effort. And if you can have someone that's an expert, spend the 20-30% more on that person and get them in there, making sure they're happy. We don't have a lot of turnover, which is good. So, paying them well, giving them good increases, that's key. But if you're just starting out, lean and mean is key to get you going. Sometimes you're gonna, there are gonna be periods where you're working 80-hour weeks. That's not awesome. But as an entrepreneur, that's reality. But as soon as you can systemize and hire right, you can get back to a balanced life. And, as long as you stay on top of it, have dashboards, key performance indicators, know where to focus. I can't speak highly enough of having measurement to judge your performance, and then focus on the areas that are dragging.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there. That's really important. Last question here. Let's say there's people out there interested in learning more about you guys. What's the best way to find out more about Trybe Properties?
Well, a good place to start would be our website, which is trybeproperties.com. Trybe is spelled incorrectly, Trybe properties.com. That'll show you, it tells you about our company, tells you about our available properties, where we're located. We can focus on Denver, but we manage in Kansas and Missouri, Nebraska, and Wyoming. So we can go anywhere. We also do construction management and consulting, capital improvement, oversight, and management. And we do a lot of due diligence consulting on new property acquisitions.
Well, thank you, Peter. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to hearing more about your AI implementation for phone systems.